okay, come up, for the next minute, I don't want you to communicate anything. Like, I don't want you to say a word. I don't want you to communicate, period. Do you think you can do it? He's like, yeah, I can do it, blah, blah, blah. And he's standing up there. Like 15 seconds goes by and he like starts looking around and moving his face and he's like kind of like moving his arms. And she goes, and at the end of a minute, it's like, do you think that you were effective in not communicating? He's like, no, I think everybody could tell that I was nervous and blah, blah, blah. She goes, do you need another minute? You want to try it again? He's like, I don't need to try it again.
Leading Ain't Easy, the show that cuts through the noise and gets real about leadership. I'm Ryan Calkins, Marine Corps veteran and founder of Reframe and Rise, and I'm here with my good friend and fellow leader, Erny Epley, founder of Bus Pro Network, as we unpack the highs, lows, and hard-earned lessons of what it actually takes to lead with character in today's world. It's not another highlight reel or fluffy leadership pep talk. We're talking about the stuff most people don't, the doubt, the pressure, the people problems, the pivots, and the personal growth that it demands. Because the truth is, leadership looks good on paper, but in real life, leading ain't easy.
Welcome back to Leading Ain't Easy. We've made it 6 episodes, which is incredible, and we are having a blast doing it. Well, at least I'm having a blast doing it. I can't speak for Ernie.
Same. Yeah, I was just about to say, it's a miracle we got to 6 with all of our schedules and trying to align this. It's a logistical nightmare at times.
Today's focus is we're focusing on fix your face, where that one person whose face just kind of says everything that they're thinking, like me, and sometimes some Ernie. So this Ernie, not a Ernie. But today's episode, it's really for the leaders that have trouble hiding it. It's the ones that wear their emotion on their sleeve, which directly affects their face and broadcasts everything that they're thinking. And the thing for us that we were kind of talking about that formed the episode was just how we can struggle sometimes with that visible emotion where it's good because it shows that you're genuine and it allows you to form bonds with people sooner and helps with relationship building because you are, who you present and people respect that more than trying to figure out somebody that always seems to be hiding who they are. But that can also at times undermine your credibility and your influence when you are trying to do things that are important if it's kind of left unchecked. So today we wanted to focus on that idea of fix your face and talk about our kind of own struggles with projecting our emotions without saying a word.
Man, I'm so glad we're talking about this. I think this is a timely topic. It's so relevant. And of course I'm speaking from where I'm coming from. I just a little background for those of you who don't know me. I am an incredibly emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, just as a person. Now, and if I'm looking inside and giving myself an objective critique as possible as that can be sometimes, or how as challenging as that is, right? Because we don't always like what we see staring back at us when we look in the proverbial mirror. But if I'm being honest, this is my biggest challenge to date. And I'm saying that 11, 12 years into this. I don't know. I lost count, but I'm this far into this whole leadership thing. And it's something that, again, full disclosure, man, it's so tough for me to do. I've always made the joke, but it's a true joke. I am the world's worst poker player. I will not play poker because if I get a good hand, I'm like, just that face there. I can't hide it, man. And the same is true on the other side of the coin. If someone pisses me off or says something that I find so absurd, I give, and you just can't do that in some situations, man. So, very timely topic for myself. I have an example when we get to examples. I have one from about 2 weeks ago. that I can give for this topic. But I guess we'll start. How did this come up, Ryan? What drove us to make this as the topic for episode 6?
Well, I was just I had a client recently that was dealing with her emotions and receiving feedback that it just the nature of the conversations and the way that they turned were becoming problematic for her. And it reminded me of the conversation that you and I had a couple weeks ago about your incident. And then I started thinking about, man, I've struggled with this my entire life. Like when I was in boot camp, the Marine Corps, refers to it as your bearing. It's essentially your composure at all times, and you're expected to maintain, this straight face, no smiles, no whatever. And I was always getting into trouble in boot camp for my
Yeah.
lack of composure. Oh yeah. Dude, everything was funny to me because the drill instructors were like so over the top at times that like so there was this guy Taylor, right? And he never ironed his uniform, like his camis. And it got to the point to where the drill instructor's walking down, he's like, if I wake up tomorrow and your shit is wrinkly, like basically he's screwed, right? Sure enough, dude doesn't polish his boots, doesn't iron his uniform like we're all expected to do. Next morning, like we're standing there, we're all in line at the position of attention, we're standing there straight up, just watching, right? Drill instructor comes walking down the aisle, stops right in front of Taylor, looks at him, grabs his blouse, and just rips it, right? And the sound of the buttons hitting the floor,
You
I
just
lost
lost it?
it. Oh yeah. So not only is Taylor up there getting physically worked, I was joining him, and it was it was basically we had to take a towel, like a washcloth, and fold it up into a little square, hold it with our fingers, and run the towel all the way across the barracks, all the way back, like back and forth until we like.
Oof.
Needless to
Oh,
say, you would think that would make me learn my lesson, but I've never been able to maintain that composure. But the idea of fix your face specifically came about when I was working. I had a coworker who tried to coach me on, because she's a couple of years older than me, but wise beyond her years. But she would let me know, like, hey, your face is going to get you in trouble. It's going to hold you back. Da 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 da. And there were times in meetings where it's like, you hear directives or people's suggestions, and you're like, this is such a waste of time. Like, why are we doing this? Except I wasn't the kind of person that would sit there and be like, yeah, that sounds great, and then come back, with a calculated response to where I could articulate what was wrong with it. Like I would just sit there like with it completely expressed on my face that I was completely against it, or I would get defensive if, there was undeserved critique and feedback. Like I've always been a person that can take critical feedback. It's all in how it's delivered. Like when it comes at you like
right.
an attack, obviously you get defensive.
Sure.
Some people are better at masking it than others, but I wasn't one of those people. And up until that point in early in my career, she used to coach me on it and telling me that it will potentially hold you back in your career. So whenever she would sit next to me and we would talk about stuff, she'd lean in and she'd be like, fix your face. Or if she was sitting across from me, she would mouth it, So it's like
Yeah.
I always had this fix your face. And I was so grateful to have her because as my career, continued to advance, and I would get into these situations where I could feel it. Like I could feel that my face was showing all of my cards, or I'd have my arms crossed, or I'd be sitting like not aggressively, but I guess defensively. And I would think like, fix your face, fix your face. And as I'm thinking about it, like I would correct and try to prepare a response or whatever it was that I disagreed with, and focus on delivering the message to make it clear what the issues were, rather than undermining any value I potentially brought to the table by expressing my distaste or whatever it was in that moment, and then making it more of a combative interaction when it didn't need to be.
Right. So in that in these moments where your colleague was leaning over, hey, fix your face, fix your face. Did she ever tell you ask you, or like, hey, what, or did she ever tell you like what your tell is? Are you aware of what your tell is?
But dude, I mean, it's my face, absolutely. Like I already have like a resting
Yeah.
bitch face, right? So it's
I
like
agree.
that, but more aggressive. Like I don't know, like or it wasn't even always like an angry thing. It was just more like, like, wow, are we really talking about how stupid this idea is? It was just very expressive in every way that I don't know, like it was just a thing that I always thought to myself would be more beneficial is being real and not trying to mask what you're thinking, but there are times and places and that's not to say, to fake who you are or anything else.
Right.
It's just a matter of keeping that composure in order to rebut. Like I would never tell anybody, you know, don't disagree. I want people to disagree. I want you to speak out if you have a problem with it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
don't do it in a way that kills any credibility you had before you even get a chance to provide it.
So it's funny you touched on the exact thing with my most recent lesson with this. Two things I want to cover. One was a meeting I had today with my boss about, and what came up during that meeting was the reason I was sort of just having a conversation with him. He's actually where he's super tight, very uh he's probably one of the best bosses I've ever had, if I'm being honest. And I'm not just saying that because he listens to the show. He does. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even. I don't even think he's aware the show exists. But I'm learning a lot from him even now. So we were talking about a situation, and he's like, giving me basic but very good advice, a good reminder. Hey, in this situation, if you react defensively, they've already won. Like, just coaching me through some of the what we're going through. And I was like, man, where I come from, you I think it was both a genetic thing because my mom's the same way, and a lot of folks on my mom's side are the same way. Like, me and Melissa always joke like we couldn't sigh around our mom because we'd be like, what did you say? You're talking back? And I'm like, I just sighed, you know. And so growing up in that, and then also being from environments where you had to react, otherwise it was seen as weakness. Like if you had somebody, shoulder check you or give you a certain look or something, you had to be like, what? What do you know what I mean? Or else you were a punk and you didn't want to be a punk, right? Not that I just grew up in a super bad ghetto. Well, it's kind of ghetto, but I'm getting lost in the detail. What I wanted to convey to my boss and what I want to convey here is a lot of this stuff. A lot of us are this stuff that goes far back. So of who we are as individuals. So it's trying to peel all those layers back and start from a foundation of, look, this has served me well up to get here, right? Now I got to peel that back because it's not going to serve me well moving forward. And the second piece of that was the situation that you and I spoke about during our session, in which, by the way, I'm going to take a quick time out here to plug reframerise.com. My boy Ryan, it's on your face again. What you're telling. Fix your face. Enjoy this plug. I'm a client, and it's very effective. I'll say that. I won't go on and on about that, but I appreciate you, bud.
I'm just happy you got the website right.
Dude, I'm happy too. Like, that's a win. I'm gonna tell my grandkids about this one day. I don't even have kids. Sorry, I'm off for the rails. But no, what we talked about was a situation where it was I don't want to get into specifics, but in a moment my character was attacked. My not necessarily my morality, but definitely my character on a personal level and on a professional level was called into question. And here it goes again, that Erny that was, grew up in the household where we couldn't sigh, and grew up where if you got a crooked look, you had to check a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like you had so that came out, and my whoop, like just my whole body, it wasn't just my face, my whole body, like I leaned forward, my body, and I had someone next to me who was very much aware of me, knows me very well. She puts her hand on my leg and she's like, relax, relax. Because she already knew, like,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that was there. And even doing that, the other side picked up on it. And in that moment I lost. I fucking lost, man, because just by going and doing that, and that's all it took. And so to the point of today's topic is fix that, peel that back, understand that most of the time, and certainly in the situation I was in, when you're in a position of leadership, they're looking for that. They're looking for the very first thing, and I'm talking about an adversarial situation, and sometimes in a negotiation situation, or even in situations where you may be dealing with vendors. I'm just trying to throw this all out there, so it's not just a confrontational scenario we're talking about where fixing your face could be beneficial to you. You can't tip your cards, right? And the thing that I feel like I'm going to beat this horse to death until the day we quit this podcast, is balance. How do we balance out the want and the need to say, hey, you're not talking to a robot, so I am going to be a little bit animated, right? You're not talking to Siri or ChatGPT. You're talking to Erny, so I am going to be animated. But then again, I gotta not over animate myself and not tip my hand, or give you the satisfaction to know that you struck a nerve, right? Or whatever
Mhm.
the scenario might be.
No, I'm glad you mentioned kind of the character piece of it, because I didn't mean to imply before that it's like anything you disagree with, you go off the rails. It's more like you said, it's a disagreement with your character or your values or things
Mhm.
that you just vehemently are against. And that's the time where you really show it on your face. And it's kind of one of those double-edged sword pieces, as we mentioned before, of kind of emotional transparency, is that it is an amazing asset in terms of relationship building, and building trust and honesty, and in that regard. But it can also, like we said, I mean, there's times in meetings where you've already lost, but before you've said a single word. And I don't know, I still struggle with it at times.
Of course, yeah.
It's a tough thing, because especially, like mentioning your character, it's just when you live a way to try and do everything right and do right by everybody else. It's just, you can give so much of yourself that when it is called into question, it's like, well, the hell are you talking about? Like, I'm doing all of this for everybody else. Or when your leadership and management and everything else is called into questions on things, or the choices that you make. And it's like, well, I made that choice because I'm doing it, for these
Hmm.
people. Like, I'll be damned if
Yeah.
if it's fine. I'll fall on the sword, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
no, thank you. You, what you said kind of or not interrupted, but
Well, you
sprung
did
another
interrupt,
thought.
but yeah.
I did. Um, no, what I wanted to remind folks is something that I have to go into every meeting knowing, and not every meeting. I just on your day to day, especially if it's a conversation is so much more than words, right? In this conversation you and I are having right now, the words we're choosing to communicate are only 40%, 50%, whatever. I don't even say 50. I better say 30. I don't want to get involved in math, but because math is hard for me. I don't have a calculator up. No, but it's a small percentage of what goes into the conversation. Body language goes into it, objective facts that I may or may not be aware of. So going into something, again, especially if there's a lot of if it's a conversation that's going to the outcome's going to be disciplinary, or if it's going to involve a lot of funds being dedicated to a certain topic or something. Whatever it is, you need to go into there knowing that the whole of this conversation, or the whole of this interaction, that words are only going to go so far. The rest of your more effective communication tactic is going to be with your body language, with your face, with the objective facts that are there, and doing your best to gather any facts that you're not aware of. So I just wanted to kind of add that caveat to, to this topic in that area.
No, while you were talking about that, it reminded me of a workshop that I attended that was facilitated by a mentor of mine, and it was it was fascinating because we're in there with a group of up and coming professionals, within an organization, and they were selected for this kind of leadership tract. And there was one project manager that was within the group that worked there, and he was very vocal, outgoing, and the kind of person that is eager and quick to volunteer. So she asked for a volunteer. This guy shoots his hand up. She's like, okay, come up. For the next minute, I don't want you to communicate anything. Like, I don't want you to say a word. I don't want you to communicate, period. Do you think you can do it? He's like, yeah, I can do it. Blah, blah, blah. And he's standing up there. Like 15 seconds goes by, and he like starts looking around and moving his face, and he's like kind of like moving his arms. And she goes, and at the end of a minute, it's like, do you think that you were effective in not communicating? He's like, no, I think everybody could tell that I was nervous and blah, blah, blah. She goes, do you need another minute? You want to try it again? He's like, I don't need to try it again. Like, and everybody got the point, but it's like
Right,
impossible to not communicate, because your movement is communication, your face is communication, your hand gestures, everything that you do is communicating something. And it was just, I mean, like you know it because you've learned it and you've been taught and everything else, but seeing it in practice and that exercise, I don't know, it was just it was a really cool thing to kind of see it play out. I don't know. Yeah, it's just another thing that I kind of added to the whole concept of fix your face is, yes, you're fixing your face, but you also need to be aware of every other way that you're communicating that's also non-verbally. But it's also, you can start to catch yourself in your tone. So if you have everything
Yes.
else under check, you also need to make sure that the tone in your delivery isn't, aggressive or defensive, because you could have your poker face on, and then you're talking, and it's like, okay, well, this shit's not meshing because this guy's got a smile,
It's
but
not
he's clearly pissed
working.
off.
Oh man, so let's talk about some tools we could add to the old toolbox. How do we maintain bearing when you disagree? What are some of the tactics that you've employed in relation to this topic?
Well, for me, it's having the knowledge and the experience with
Mhm.
the fix your face from my coworker. Like, that is immediately my main tool, is thinking about it. And it's not just in the moment when it's happening, but if I go into a meeting to where I know it could be a touchy, anytime there's like
Right.
a professional performance related
Mhm.
discussion, whether it's me delivering the message or receiving the message, I go into it with fix your face, fix your face. Like, it doesn't need to become a defensive battle or anything else, because again, you can lose. You can lose as a leader and supervisor having the conversation, but you can also lose as a leader, working your way up. Like, I have been in situations previously where I haven't received a promotion because I'm too open, or I'm the person where it's like, oh, I know you've got something to say because it's on my face. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do, and I'll provide my insight and opinions on things. Again, it's one of those things where it can be a great asset, but unchecked, it can be a huge hindrance. So my biggest tool, and something that I hope people are able to take away, is that concept of fix your face. And when you feel yourself start to get defensive, or I mean, you can feel it when your body's changing, and start thinking right then, fix your face, and try to correct and relax your shoulders and uncross your arms, and, sit up or back, depending on how your body is situated. But hopefully people just take away the concept of fix your face.
for me, what I've found success in these moments is when when the face wants to do what it does, or my reaction, right? Do a quick readjustment, like you said, right? And in that moment, right, in the 2 or 3 seconds that it's taking you to clear your throat, readjust yourself, or whatever, remember why you were there. Keep your eye on the prize, stay focused on the objective of why we are meeting today. And that goes whether it's if you're feeling like you, or when you disagree with somebody, or if you feel frustrated, or if you feel like you're getting blindsided. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times I've been blindsided in meetings. And it's getting to just do a soft reset of something physical, whether, again, taking a drink like you just did, or clear your throat, something. But in that moment, reset your composure, not only on your face, but in your head, thinking like, okay, why are we here? What's the objective? Are we getting off track? And even if you have to say that out loud, you can say, hey, I appreciate the feedback, but I feel it's taking us off track on what our course is today. Our course is to help you show up on time, right? That's the example I'm going to use every time in this show. But the extent is to get you here on time so that you could provide service or to our customers, or, fill in the blank. Just go back to the basics, strip it back. And then after that reset, I've found that once we've gotten back on track, it's my face just falls into, and my whole body language falls into, like, okay, this is why we're here. We're here for X, get it done. Appreciate the time, all that good stuff.
Has losing your composure ever kind of had a negative effect for you? I know the thing 2 weeks ago, you felt like you lost, but you didn't really lose everything. It was like that
Right.
battle. But have you ever had a situation where it basically ruined whatever opportunity you were pursuing, or whatever?
I Not an opportunity, but definitely a what am I trying to say here? Like, faith and from my superiors. Okay, so let me tell you the story. And this was, man, this was my very first board meeting when I became a director. So for those of you who don't know, and this is public information, you could look it up on the internet right now, and there's a video of me losing my shit and losing faith, and having they don't show it on the video, but in my eyes, like, you could see the reflection that I'm looking up at the Board of Education and the superintendent, and slowly they're just like, this motherfucker's out. You know what I mean? Like, so I'll give you an example. So we're at a board meeting. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the California school system, our org chart is that the superintendent is over the day-to-day activities and logistics of a massive district like this, where there's 32,000 kids, 4,000 employees, and over everything is the Board of Education. And then I answer to someone who's just under the superintendent. That's in my current role. So there's a board agenda item up that I'm being called upon as the subject matter expert. And it has to do with what's known as an RFP, a request for proposal, or a bid. For those of you in the construction business or government business, like, that whenever a government entity requires services, there has to be a document put out saying, hey, this is the services we need, and companies have a chance to respond with their proposal. I say that to lay the groundwork. They had a question on why we're awarding the bid to this person from company A versus company B, whenever company B is offering us a bigger break. And what the backstory is that a colleague of mine, when they went to type up the board agenda doc, they had a typo, and they recommended the wrong vendor, right, to the Board of Education, and nobody caught it because it was after my approval process went through. I didn't approve the actual write-up. I just approved the vendor we were going with, and it was a verbal. There was nothing in writing. So when it got to the clerical piece of it, that person forgot who I said and just was like, oh, well, I'm going to look on this, right? Anyway, without getting too into the weeds on it, she made a mistake. And I'm there in front of the entire my bosses, right? And in front of the community I'm part of now. They're very active. At any one point, we could have a couple hundred people on stream. That's they publicly broadcast on our local PBS channel, our board meetings. So it's a very public place, and they're sort of taking me to task on like why is this company being recommended when this company gives us the better price. And so I'm trying to say, without throwing my colleague under the bus, that was a mistake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I got so flustered. I'm moving all over the place. Well, yeah, I know what you're saying, and I'm doing the trick to clear my. But there was nothing I can do. Thank God that the person just to my right, who was on cabinet at the time, just was like, hey, how about we just put forth the resolution to go with the best price, and then we don't have to name the company, right? Just kind of gave a solution and saved me. But I was like, dude, where the hell were you 2 minutes ago? I've been up here for 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is an eternity if you're just stuck in that moment. So I could have, again, there's many lessons to be learned from that. However, as soon as I saw was up there answering the questions, as soon as I saw that, what I later learned was the superintendent came to me and was like, we saw your face when you read that, and your face was of panic, like just looked like you were about to get hit going head on with an 18-wheeler, and you're just like, oh no. And they knew, everybody that looked at the agenda item knew what you were knowing about. And it's your job to explain this. That's why the board member asked you what he did. I mean, it's their job. Like, I'm not blaming them at all. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to follow up on fuck ups like this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to explain that. So again, I think I would have started from a much better place had I been more composed. Now, I mean, I feel like I'm a little more seasoned now. I would look at that and I would probably still make a face, but it wouldn't be like, deer in a headlights face. It would be like, okay, well, they're going to ask about this and I'm going to be ready for it. My answer now would be, look, it appears to be a clerical error. Can we agree to use the best price? Right? Just what my boss did at the time there. But that all comes with experience. So I lost a lot of, I don't know if it's credibility, but there was a lot of follow-up to that. The fallout from that was that anything I brought to the board was under a microscope, and it wasn't even necessarily my fault. You shouldn't. Sorry. Long story.
So with that, had you just owned it as the clerical error and corrected it then, I mean, obviously this is something we can totally take offline, but isn't there a danger in setting a precedent of now going with the lowest by default when you could have future bidders that come in and they underbid, and now you're stuck with a less qualified and shittier quality product and service because you set the wheels in motion to just default to the lowest bid?
Yes and no. That opens up a little bit more of an operational thing, but in this case, it was diesel delivery and gas delivery to our facility there. We have on-site underground storage tanks, and so it's the same diesel no matter what. They're getting it from the same refineries, and the error came because again, everyone's going to learn something new today. When our bid is their bid is just like 11 cents off market price. So whatever, if a gallon of diesel is a dollar, then they're going to sell it to us at 89 cents. And that's, excuse me, what they said. So it looked like the lower number, which was, I think the lower number was 8 cents. And they're like, oh, 8 is cheaper than 11. Let's go with that. When in reality, they forgot the little negative sign there, that no, 11 cents in this case is better. It's a significant cost when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel a month. So yeah. So that's in that case, that saved me. But yeah.
No, thanks for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so whenever you're ready to be director of transportation, you could have that in the tool belt.
I'm ready. Step aside.
Probably do a better job than me.
So with all the things that we've been talking about, kind of the experiences that we've had in terms of still, today, as recent as 2 weeks ago, struggling with being able to, maintain your composure and balance your kind of authenticity with that transparency and trying to make everything work to where you're not so reactive and
Mhm.
defensive. What kind of, I guess, lessons or piece of advice would you give somebody that's listening on how to proactively mitigate kind of that concept of fix your face?
First off, I would advise people, and this is a good piece of advice for myself too, if I could follow it, is give yourself some grace. You are still human. You still want to appear human. So there's that. Um, but you could also do yourself a lot of favors to do your best to be proactively ready for an attack, for getting blindsided by pieces of information that you weren't privy to before. So, as is the case with most things, practice is going to make perfect. Getting prepared ahead of time is uh, going to set you up for success. And part of that preparation isn't just what you're bringing to the table. Part of that preparation is, okay, I got to be able to expect the unexpected here and know that something is going to come out of the woodworks, right? Especially if it's a confrontational meeting, or if there's a lot of money involved, right? There's going to be something that's going to pop its head up, and I got to know that's coming and mentally prepare myself for that. So in the moment, you're already like, okay, knew this was coming. And your face could be one of, I saw that coming, I have an answer for you, versus, panic, like, or one of, well, fuck you, that wasn't my, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've cursed on this episode a lot, and I apologize for that.
You
But
curse on every
it's,
episode.
I do. Now I got to go back and really listen, not just tell you I listened and not do it.
So to
uh,
add on to
yeah.
what you said, I think that self-awareness is a huge component of being able to work on fixing yourself and or fixing your face, I mean, because you can't manage what you don't notice. So like being aware that you are that person that is very expressive in the moment, but also not being immediately reactive and spouting off. It's give yourself a couple of seconds to kind of reflect on what just happened. So while you're focusing on fixing your face and making sure that what you're presenting is not showing your cards, all on the table at once. And in that silence, it gives you a moment to kind of regain your composure so you can articulate what your challenge is versus that immediate rebuttal, like you said, the birds and all.
Yeah. One of the what I just saw something in our run of show notes that I really want, that really kind of jumped off the page at me, is choosing where to vent. It's healthy to vent, right? And one choice you could proactively make is subscribing to Reframe and Rise and hooking up with my buddy Ryan. Secondly, I threw that in as kind of a serious joke. Secondly, is building a team around you that you. Sorry, my chair almost broke. Couldn't imagine why. It hit the snap. Sorry. Choosing where to vent, right? Building your team, putting the right pieces in place to people that you can go into, and go in their office, close the door behind you. Well, you wouldn't believe what I just, that's healthy. Not only for people in your normal life, it's a healthy professional thing too. So that way you're not a ticking time bomb, just carrying everything and internalizing everything. So being smart about where you're going to vent to, knowing the situations where you can let your face just go and do, let that go, because that is a healthy outlet to have as leaders. And I would imagine that if we took a show of hands in a group of leaders, how many people have somebody like that in their office, whether it's maybe not in their office, but maybe it's the office over in another department, or whatever the case is. We all need that something. And somebody to be able to bounce these things off of, who knows that your frustration in that moment isn't directed at them, it's directed at the situation, and they can support you, whether it's support of, okay, I'm hearing you, here's where you're wrong and you need to fix, or support of, yeah, that sucks, nothing else to do, or just to sit there and listen, right? And I certainly have those people in my place of employment who I offer that to, right? And this isn't necessarily part of the discussion, but being able to listen and diagnose of, oh, do I need to provide feedback, or do I just need to get out of the way and let them go, right? So choosing where to vent is going to be pretty healthy. It's okay to do that. It's okay to feel human. So yeah, that's one of the takeaways I wanted to add.
Yeah, no, I agree. Having that place to vent, it's also who you vent in front of. You know, when your
Sure.
team is around you and you're reacting that way, especially if it's, to a superior or something else, then it, challenges their view on things, and kind of that composure is contagious. It's like, well, if Ernie's
Mm,
going to blow
yep.
up, I'm going to blow up, or,
Yeah.
whatever. They can either lose respect for you, they lose respect for your boss. It shows that management isn't aligned. It's just a lot of elements that also go into what you do as a manager and leader, because as a leader, by default, there are people that look to you for strength and wisdom and support and all of these
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
when you don't have, control of your own composure, it can undermine you in those situations as well.
Of course, you got to set the tone as leaders. You have to be the one to say, "Hey, this is what today is. This is what we're doing here." And yeah, very important to set the tone. Another thing I wanted to that kind of jumped out on me is authenticity isn't necessarily doesn't equal transparency, and I like this that the note said you don't have to owe everyone your unfiltered reaction. What is your sort of take on that, and can you expound upon that a little bit more, Ryan?
I kind of alluded to it earlier, but it's that concept where I used to have a mindset that my kind of unfiltered reaction was favorable, because I
Mm,
wasn't this fake person and everybody could trust in who I am is who I am, and
right.
but also there's that learning of the cost of being completely authentic, or oversharing, which may be another subject I tackle in a future episode, because
Yeah.
I am an open book, both in what I share with people, but also that expressive, just reactionary, just who I am. And I mentioned it before, but it's always been a struggle and an area of focus for me. I have gotten better, which obviously comes with experience and maturity, which I'm still working on the maturity piece too. But yeah, it's just I think having a filtered reaction in those scenarios that we talked about, where it's more advantageous to wait and make sure that you're calm and articulate what your desire or need is in that moment, because once you've lost somebody, it's really hard to climb back in. Like, if you lose a promotion because people view you as a loose cannon, or that you aren't professionally mature, it sets you back, and now you have to not just show that you can do the job, but now you have to prove that you can overcome this challenge in perception. And if that takes, years now, because
Take
you could
time.
have 10 years of goodwill built up, and then
Yeah.
you have one major fuck up.
Mm,
That's what people focus on, is, oh, that one time that Ernie lost his composure, and oh, now this guy is nuts. Let's not think about all of the good he did this year. It's that one incident that made you look like, a complete unprofessional, that comes into question. And is it fair? No, but it happens. I mean, it's
yeah.
real. And the last thing that you want to do is undermine your
All that good
professional
work. Yeah.
trajectory,
Yeah. So, sort of in summary, I did want to mention this as well. We've talked about on this show being true to yourself, being authentic, and things of that nature. I want to make it abundantly clear. It's not about hiding who you are. It's not about squelching your personality. It's about leading with intention. And that's something that phrase, leading with intention, is something that I, again, be doing this self-reflection and doing the self-assessment here, I need to that needs to become to the forefront as well for me in my day to day whenever I'm going through and making decisions that are impactful, not only to me, but for the staff that I work with, to our customer base. Like, I need to lead with intention. And what is that attention? Well, it's pretty easy for me. I preach it every single day: is student safety and student service, right? For my particular industry, but you fill in the blank with what you got. So even when your reaction, and even when it's in your genetics to do this, remember, like, leading with intent, even when your face wants to go first, is something that I'm definitely gonna add to the toolbox moving forward.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've all been there, that moment where your expression really says that, what your brain didn't mean to share,
Yeah.
and luckily I had Amy, my person that
Yep.
had the fix your face mantra that has stuck with me. And I guess hopefully everybody else has that person or something that they can rely on in the moment for aid. And we would really love to know kind of what
Yeah.
helps others stay grounded in those moments. If you can share tips or stories of your own kind of experiences and growth, it's something that we would love to continue learning, from ourselves as well.
Absolutely, man. I do want to say, like, any and all feedback is welcome. I know we end almost every show with this, but it's important. I do want to hear from our folks, and see if we're hitting, the target, or if we need to adjust. Man, no one's above, certainly not as podcasters. We're not above correction, and tips and tricks and all that good stuff.
Yeah. No, so until next time when we're
Yeah.
back next week, we'll close with a leading ain't easy, but
You don't have to do it alone. Dude, I'm so good at this now. I'm never gonna forget that freaking line again.
you're amazing.
You are.
Thanks for tuning in to Leading Ain't Easy. If something in today's episode resonated, please do us a favor and share it with someone else who leads or aspires to lead. Because honestly, none of us have this figured out, but we can all get better together. If you're a leader or professional feeling quietly stuck in your career, visit reframerise.com. It's a career and leadership coaching firm where I work with veterans and other high achievers to realign their work and lead with purpose. Again, that's reframerise.com. And if you're looking for leadership tools, training, or support for your transportation department, check out Bus Pro Network, where Erny helps school transportation leaders across California build safer, stronger teams. Please subscribe wherever you listen, leave a review, and let us know what topics you'd like us to tackle in the future. And remember, leading ain't easy, but you don't have to do it alone.